What's going on, you guys? Z Keith Carnes here, and welcome to another countdown here on my channel. This time we are looking at something more sad and morbid, if you will. None other than the top three tragedies in pro wrestling history, at least to me. Now, in this countdown, this is completely my opinion, so you guys all need to remember that. If you don't agree with me, that's completely fine. You can be respectful and disagree in the comments. I love seeing other people's lists. So without further ado, let's get on with the first of three. So, of course, coming in at number 3 is Eddie Guerrero. We are talking about Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero, who passed away in November of 2005, November 13th to be exact. Eddie Guerrero, of course, was such an amazing wrestler. Was one of the most talented wrestlers that one could ever see, one could ever watch, one could ever have the privilege of watching. And I am very happy to say that I actually got to see Eddie Guerrero live in person wrestling. I actually saw him take on Kurt Angle on SmackDown. That was quite the match, and I'm very, very honored to say that I watched it live. So, Eddie Guerrero, of course, was known as being one of the nicest, most genuine, amazing people. He was known as being one of the best professional wrestlers of all time. Had talent like nobody else. Left an impact on the wrestling world like no other. I mean, to this day, like, it's just amazing what you'll see. Like, I mean, Eddie Guerrero, this November will mark 10 years since we lost Eddie, and, you know, just recently, as of this recording, I watched the Battleground pay-per-view with Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, and Brock Lesnar anytime he goes to hit that triple suplex, or back suplex, or anything, people will start chanting Eddie, because Eddie was so known. Eddie was so well known for his Three Amigos, which was a tri-suplex, and the fact that almost 10 years later, people are still chanting Eddie Guerrero whenever they see that move, they remember Eddie, that speaks volumes in itself. That just shows you how much of an impact he had. And the fact that he was only 38 years old when he died also really had an impact on people, because, you know, he should have had at least another 10 years in the ring, and at least another, 40 years in his life. And the fact that he was taken away so soon, it's just too bad. You know, Eddie will forever be remembered, and this gets on my list just because he had such an impact. And to this day, like I said, almost pretty much 10 years later, you know, to think that he is still remembered in WWE so greatly, and remembered like he was just there yesterday, like I said, it speaks volumes. And that's why Eddie lands us, because his passing was just so hard. And it's something that I don't think any wrestling fan has ever gotten over, including myself. I still think about Eddie and just get really sad, because I'm just like, God, why can't he still be around? It's just amazing. Just an amazing talent. Anyway, let's move on to the number 2 spot. So coming in at the number 2 spot is none other than the death of Owen Hart in 1999. Now, this was before I was a big wrestling fan. I was a wrestling fan to a point, but I was only 8 years old when Owen died. So, yeah, I was a little kid. Wasn't really into wrestling as much. I was too busy outside playing with friends, on the neighborhood street, going to school, etc., etc. Wrestling wasn't really in my thing, but Owen Hart's death will forever be known as one of the biggest tragedies of all time, because of how it happened. First of all, Owen Hart was only 34 years old. He was very young when he died. And he was very much loved. So many people loved Owen. So many people to this day talk about Owen and just say, God, he was just such an amazing, beautiful, gentle person in real life. He genuinely cared about others and all this kind of stuff. And his death is just so sad, because he basically died to make everybody around him happy. Owen was known to be very scared of heights. Owen was known to be scared of doing the stunt that would end up killing him. And, you know, he was asked many times, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? And Owen would always say, yeah, I'll do it. And, you know, the fact that he was just so scared that people noticed, and they said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because you don't have to do this." And Owen said, "No, you know, this is my character. I'm going to do it." Even in a disrespectful character playing the Blue Blazer, which who would want to do that, right? Nobody would want to do that. Even in that character, he was still such a professional that he was still willing to go out there and give it 110%. And he was still willing to go 78 feet above the ring and be scared out of his fucking mind. And the worst thing happened, you know? I mean, he was scared of heights, he was scared of falling and dying, and that's exactly what happened. He accidentally hit a quick release, that's at least what's speculated, and he fell and died from blunt force trauma and internal bleeding. And, you know, Owen's tragedy is just one that teaches us that, you know, irresponsibility and just being so, you know, oh, you'll be fine, and trusting something like that is just, I mean, you'll never see a wrestler lowered to the ring ever again. I really don't believe you'll ever see that, at least in WWE. You're never going to see that again because of Owen, and Owen's death was just so sudden, and it was just so heartbreaking and devastating that, you know, Owen's another one. Nobody's over it. Nobody's like, oh yeah, Owen died, whatever. No, you know, I mean, you would never be like that, but what I'm saying is that people are still just so devastated by him, and his wife will not allow them to put him in a video game, will not allow them to make a DVD just about him. I kind of have mixed feelings on that myself, but I can't blame the woman. I'm not in her position. I've never lost a spouse or anything like that, and, you know, who am I to say she's wrong, but Owen Hart's death was just so devastating, and that's why it gets number 2. So let's move on to number 1. So coming in at the number 1 spot is, of course, the Benoit tragedy. You had to know that Chris Benoit was going to be on this list. And this one lands here just for the simple reason of what happened. You know, in June of 2007, Chris Benoit reportedly, supposedly, so people say that evidence doesn't add up. I've also done a conspiracy thing on this, and there are some questionable things about this, but we're not talking about the conspiracy side. We're talking about the, you know, technical side of things here. He killed his wife, his son, and then himself over a 3-day period in June of 2007. They were all found dead, and Benoit has been completely blamed for the killings. They don't have any reason to believe, or at least the police say there's no reason to believe that there was outside interference. So that's pretty much where it goes. Now this is just so devastating because of what it is. You know, Chris Benoit was such a beloved wrestler before this. Chris Benoit was just so huge. He would come out and the fans would just, you know, erupt in cheering, and people loved Chris Benoit. You know, backstage people loved him. Benoit was just an overly loved guy, and he was known as just being a very humble guy, very not cocky, not overly, you know, anything like that. And he was a tremendous pro wrestler. I mean, to say Chris Benoit was a good wrestler would be the ultimate understatement of all time. Because Chris Benoit, oh my God, I mean, if you're a wrestling fan, if you have not yet to see this, you're robbing yourself. If you have the network or you have some way to watch it, go watch Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle. Any of those matches between those two were just insanely amazing to watch, and I absolutely just love going back and watching those today. And, you know, Chris Benoit is just such an amazing wrestler. Right? You know, he's a former World Heavyweight Champion in 2004. You know, and the fact that he went out this way, it's just something that can never ever be. It's just something that can never ever be completely understood, I think is the best way to put it, because people just still sit here and are just like, God, that really happened? I mean, it's just such a surreal thing that Chris Benoit could do something like that. And of course, a lot of people need to do their homework, because a lot of people say very negative things about Chris, but what people don't understand is that Chris Benoit lost his mind. Chris Benoit's brains were basically mush, and from chair shots and everything, and I truly believe that it was because of Chris Benoit that we are in the PG era in WWE, and that we don't get chair shots to the head anymore. And there's so much caution going on with steroid use and painkiller abuse and all this other stuff that used to be a big thing in wrestling that was just accepted, and now today it's like it's a big no. You know, I mean, if you look at the wrestlers in the 90s and you put them to compare them to the wrestlers of today, it's day and night. You can't, it's apple and oranges. You cannot compare them. And it's just such an amazing difference what this tragedy made in the wrestling world. And Chris Benoit's, unfortunately, his death will overshadow his career. I mean, no matter what, you know, I mean, you could be the biggest Benoit fan of all time. Every time you watch Benoit wrestling, you'll always think of what he did. And that's the most devastating thing about it. Now, I've covered Chris Benoit many times on this channel before, and I've always said I don't blame Chris Benoit. And I know that may be kind of a controversial thing to say. Some people may not like me saying that, but I've done my homework. I've looked into the Benoit case a million times, and I've always read that he had extreme brain damage. I can't blame somebody that has extreme brain damage for doing what he did. Benoit, in my opinion, he was a victim himself. Simple as that. And whether you like that or not, I really don't care. It's my opinion. So, yeah, so that's pretty much going to do it here, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Countdown. I decided just to do something kind of different today. If you want to see me count down anything else, leave it in the comments below, or anything else you just want to see me talk about, whatever, you know the drill. Leave it in the comments below. Thank you to all my subscribers. I will see you guys in the future. Thank you so much for watching. You guys take it easy, and have a good one.